Hello guys and welcome back to Planet 40k. I've got one single question for you today. Are Immortals dead in the new Arcs of Omen chapter approved book? We're going to answer that question for you in this video. So when we're breaking into this actual question of whether Immortals are dead or not, we need to ask ourselves a few more sub-questions to give us a little bit of context. So what's changed? What has changed within this Arcs of Omen chapter approved book to make people not consider Immortals within their lists anymore? The answer to this part is actually very simple. Within the new chapter approved book, we are using the Arcs of Omen detachments. That is now the go-to detachment that everybody is using when you are using this mission pack. And of course, we've got a compulsory role of a HQ and we've got a compulsory role of one of the 5 main battlefield roles in the game. Now the key part here is a very simple 2-letter word, which is OR. You need to have either 3 troops, or 3 elites, or 3 fast stack, or 3 heavy support, or 3 Lords of War models. Again, keyword there being OR. To simplify this, we do not actually need any troop selections at all within this chapter approved book. Now in the previous chapter approved book, the Warzone Nephilim, if we were taking a patrol detachment, you needed at least 1 troop selection, which would cost you 80 points for a minimum unit of Immortals. You could of course go for warriors, but we're talking in terms of the cheapest options, it was 80 points for 5 Immortals. If you were taking a battalion detachment, you needed a minimum of 3 troop options, so that would be a minimum of 240 points spent on just your troop selections only. So as we've already said, for the Arcs of Omen detachment, we simply do not need troops. We can completely bypass troops if we wanted to, and use our points for better battlefield roles elsewhere. Whether your playstyle is getting loads of fast attack options, whether it's elites, whatever else it is, you don't have to spend them on troops anymore. So the next sub question within this video is, how do they compare with other units? And this will give us a little bit of a glimpse of why they've actually been shelved. So let's firstly compare them with the other troop selection. Again, we don't need to select troops, but I just wanted to compare them to Necron warriors. Right now, Necron warriors are definitely more considered over Necron Immortals for a couple of reasons. Well, first of all, it's the Ghost Arcs. The Ghost Arcs have made a fantastic comeback, in my opinion, in this chapter approved book. I mean, they have always been good, so it's not really a comeback, but I'm definitely using them a lot more than I ever did before. If I was to take troops, and I do quite often, I would be taking 10 Necron warriors, which is more expensive, but I do have a game plan with my Ghost Arc, so that's the whole point of that synergy. Also, Necron warriors can come in units of up to 20, which is obviously going to massively aid them, whether it's their damage output with their Gorse Flayers or Gorse Reapers, or simply for survivability. I mean, having 20 models is going to interact with the Resurrection Orb. They've also got the rerollable Reanimation Protocol rolls of a 1. You've also got Technomancers, Ghost Arcs, and Canoptic Reanimators that are going to aid a 20-man warrior blob much better than a 5 or 10-man Immortal unit. So yeah, even though they're only toughness 4, they're definitely much more survivable in a block of 20. So again, I would rather select Necron warriors over Immortals at this present time. Now another unit to focus on here is the Deathmarks. They've got similar-ish weapons. Now of course they're not exactly similar, one is a sniper and one isn't. But if you look at the actual stats of the weaponry, they're both strength 5, they're both minus 2 AP, they're both 1 damage. Now of course the Deathmarks are only going to get that 1 shot, and you can also inflict mortal wounds on a wound roll of a 6, and they can also fire through that Lookout Sir ability if needed. Now the Gorse Blasters, at 30-inch range, you're also only getting the 1 shot with the exact same stats. Strength 5, minus 2 AP, 1 damage, there's no ignoring Lookout Sir abilities, there's no extra mortal wounds. Now it is a rapid fire weapon, so within 15-inch range, you do get 2 shots with it, to be fair to it, but other than that, it's almost identical. Now obviously they've got the Tesla Carbine as a secondary option, which doesn't really compare to the Deathmarks weapon at all. But comparing both of their stat lines, I mean the Immortals are 16 points a model, the Deathmarks are only 13 points a model, they're 3 points cheaper, virtually the same stat line except they're hitting on a 2+ rather than a 3+. They've obviously, as we already mentioned, ignoring Lookout Sir ability, throwing out mortal wounds, and they can also even deep strike and do the interceptor stratagem as well if you wanted to. So again, if I had to take one of these options within my list, I'd rather take Deathmarks any day of the week. Comparing them to one of the fast attack options, I'm going to compare them to Tomb Blades. Tomb Blades are quite similar, again not quite similar, but they are similar in a way. For 2 points extra at base cost, you're getting an additional 9 inches of movement. You're also getting an additional wound. Also with the Tomb Blades, you can take a minimum unit of 3, which is only 54 points, not 80 points like the Necron Immortals. Now they do have a slightly worse armor save of a 4+, but that can be upgraded for just 3 points, and you can even add an invuln save for 3 more points if you wanted to. And of course they've got that -1 to hit at range, because that's what the Tomb Blades do. So yeah, for 2 points at base cost, you're getting quite a lot more for your money there, and yeah, you don't have to take 5 of them. So even if you did max out, and if you did give all the bells and whistles, the M1 save, the armor save, it's still going to be cheaper than 80 points for a 3-man unit. Not only that, if you did upgrade the weapons for the Tomb Blades, so you're not taking the free option, you're taking the twin Tesla carbines or the twin Gauss blasters, each Tomb Blade is the equivalent of having 2 Immortals in terms of output at range. They're just twin versions of the same weapons. The only difference here is they got the free option, which is the particle beamer. Okay, it doesn't have any AP and it doesn't have exploding 6s. And you do also lose some of the range too, but you've got the option there, which is an option that the Immortals just don't have. So yeah, I'm also going to be selecting Tomb Blades over Immortals. So we've compared some units to the Necron Immortals. Do they still have a use in the game at present? So if you still feel the need to take Necron Immortals, I feel like you're going to be either doing it in min units of 5 to hold objectives in your own deployment zone perhaps, or you're doing it in maximum units of 10 for the firepower. Let's talk about the firepower for a moment. You've got the Gauss blasters or the Tesla carbines. Gauss blasters 30-inch range, rapid fire 1, strength 5, -2 AP, 1 damage. Or the Tesla carbines, slightly less range at 24 inches, but assault 2, so you are guaranteed the 2 shots. Again, strength 5, no AP, 1 damage, but exploding 6s. You've got the option of taking either or with your Immortals. Now I just feel like some of the units that we've just compared, like the Necron Warriors, the Tomb Blades, I feel like you're just going to get more out of those units. If you want to stay back in your own deployment zone kind of unit, you can go for, well, you can go for anything really. You can go for Canoptic Scarabs, you can go for those Tomb Blades as mentioned. There's lots of other units that can just sit at home for cheap. If you wanted the 10-man unit for firepower, you may as well just go for Tomb Blades again. You're getting twice as many shots, you've got the speed on top of that, the extra wound on top of that. Or just Necron Warriors, as we already said, 20 shots with the Gauss Reapers. Okay, the range isn't as good, but you have got the Veil of Darkness option if you wanted to do that. Or you could just go forward, maybe even advance of them, use my will be done to still be hitting on a 3+. Yeah, you're just going to get a lot more out of Necron Warriors than you would with Immortals. So yeah, final thoughts to close the video off with the Necron Immortals. They're not so immortal now, are they? I think they are a dead unit. Ever since we don't need troop selections anymore, we just don't need to go to them. They were my go-to in the previous chapter approved book because we did need to take one of these as a compulsory option if we were to take a legal detachment, whether it's patrol, battalion, brigade. You did need at least one of these models, or one of these units. So I always tried to do it as cheap as possible, 80 points. Tesla carbines was my thing, stick them at the back of the table. But now we just don't need to do it. So guys, what do you think? Are you still using Necron Immortals? Are you still using any troops whatsoever? Let me know down in the comments below. But yeah, for me, Necron Immortals, they're a no-go. So guys, that is the end of the video. Thank you all for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.